Good morning, Philadelphia, and welcome to another great show of Race on Main Street. For all of our previous episodes, you can go to raceonmain.com. But before you do that, we have a terrific show today. Jody Mackey from
Girl on Fire.
Girl on Fire.
Girl on Fire.
Yeah, you can visit her website at GirlOnFire.life. She's going to talk all about firearm safety, training, personal defense, and just being a little bit more aware of your surroundings to make sure that you're safe. So stay tuned. We have a great show for you.
Great show. Girl on Fire covers 9 states. The Girl on Fire mission is to be part of the solution to decrease crime and assault statistics nationally.
So we're here with Jody Mackey from Girl on Fire. Okay, she's going to tell us all about that. It's an interesting business. Jody, welcome. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Girl on Fire. We gave a little bit in the intro as to what it all sort of like, the broad picture view. Tell us a little bit more specifically what it's all about.
Sure. So Girl on Fire, we have a firearms and personal safety training academy and a fashion company. And so it's an interesting blend, and they're actually coming together, which is kind of fun.
Okay, now I'm totally fascinated. Fashion, so explain.
So this will be another show where I don't talk, right?
Shh. So tell us a little bit about that. So I know what you're leading into, but I'm curious to see. First thing, I just have one question before we get into that. Girl on Fire it's not like just for personal safety for women though. It's training for anybody.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
It is. I also have On Fire training, and so it's really men and women. I actually train more men than women. I train people to be firearms instructors, and so I train primarily men for that aspect of it. There are some women that get into it, but not as many.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you talked about this merger between personal safety, firearms, fashion. A lot of people out there are not going to have any idea how they all sort of converge together, right? Like what? So give us a little bit of details about that, if you don't mind.
Sure. I have a little bit of a differentiating thing going on here for me. So the fashion, I've had that company for over 10 years. And it's more professional image makeovers and branding for people to help them with their target market and figure out who those people are so that they can create an image that's really marketable for them to really be appealing to that target market. And the Firearms and Personal Safety Training Academy is all personal safety, firearms training, concealed carry, becoming instructors, range safety officers, and really all of the personal safety aspect, which is a non-firearms training division with the college campuses and businesses and organizations that need that personal safety training for various reasons with their staff. The two are coming together because I have developed a concealed carry line for women that is much more fashionable than what is on the market currently, along with being very safe.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to elaborate on that. So when you say concealed carry, you mean a woman who wants to carry a firearm, okay,
Yes.
very conspicuously,
Yes.
has limited choices in like fashion that she can wear in terms of hiding that firearm with the clothing that she's wearing. So
Absolutely.
so that's what you mean by, so you're developing like more clothing, obviously very safe, you know, how does that, like, so give us some details, like a little bit so people understand that.
Sure.
Could we start off with some of the drawbacks that exist currently out there?
Sure.
For women.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A lot of the challenges are, you know, women in general, it's harder to hide it. Men, it's just much easier, and especially with the clothing that they wear too. They wear bigger jackets, they can hide it very easily. For women, it's much more difficult. Our clothing is much more fitted, and it's just a really big challenge if they want to carry every day, because concealed means concealed. Right. And so we want to make sure that we aren't printing or showing that we are carrying a firearm. And so a lot of the options that are out there currently, people have been trying to create some options that are more viable options, but through that process, they've developed things that aren't necessarily very safe. And there have been a lot of negligent discharges from a lot of those drawing from concealment options that are currently on the market now. One of them that I see regularly are the really big giant handbags. And if you have your firearm, you have to have a handbag that you can always have on your person. You never want to take it off, because if someone steals your purse, now they've got your firearm. If someone else has access to your purse, now they're, that's a dangerous situation as well. And so I want to have a handbag that is always available to be on your person and be the right size so that you can keep that on your person. But I also want one that doesn't look like a handbag that I'm carrying on the farm. And so there's not a lot of options currently that are in between the two. There's either the giant Texas handbags, not to offend the Texas people who carry every day, but and then the other ones that are very utilitarian, military looking, and so I represent the fashion side as well, and I understand the challenges that professional women have, especially those women that do want to carry because they go into different neighborhoods all by themselves at different hours of the night and parking lots and things like that where they want to keep a handgun with them. And so I have created a lot of different types of options that they can utilize to satisfy that need.
So it's not just handbags?
Right.
So give us some examples of other,
well, I can't
without
tell you
getting
the
too,
other. I can't tell you the other ones.
Oh,
it's clothing and accessories
okay,
mixed together. Yes, but we're not quite at our launching point yet.
Okay.
It's
Well,
coming, so I want to just leave it open for the big fashion show that we're going to have once it launches.
Could you say? Gotcha.
So that we're cutting edge, but we're also wearable and realistic for the everyday woman that wants to carry a firearm, who's a professional.
That's kind of neat like that.
Absolutely.
So that would be great. But you mentioned something that got a little bit glossed over about personal safety among businesses and universities. That's what actually just jumped out to me. That don't involve any type of firearms, anything like that. Right. So what's that all about? That sounds great, because there are some folks who fall on that other side who say, hey, you know what, we want to be safe, but we don't want to go to one extreme or the other. So tell us all about
the college statistics that we have now is 1 in 4 will be assaulted during their college career. That's a crazy statistic. And that statistic came before the actual mandatory reporting was happening, which is really scary because now once we reevaluate that number again after all of this reporting is happening, I think that the number is going to be even more extreme. And so one of the issues that we see just among the industry in general is that people just don't think it's going to happen to them, so they don't worry about taking the measures for prevention. And so a lot of it is through education and training. And so I applaud a lot of the colleges now because they have started to put things in place to help decrease those statistics in general, but a lot of them are driven by come to us and call us and sign up for this workshop and we'll give you the training. Unfortunately, these women don't think it's going to happen to them. They're not going to voluntarily sign up for the training. And so we go on to the campuses and provide this ongoing training throughout the year to help the education aspect of it and prevention so that we can literally decrease the statistics and see it happen. Because parents aren't going to want to continue to enroll their children with these colleges when they know that they're at great risk of getting assaulted while they're there.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a big number. That's a big statistic.
I have 4 daughters. 1 out of 4. She says 1 out of 4. I have 4.
That's what I was
Pick
thinking
one.
of. So
Scary.
yeah, no, it is scary.
It's really scary. And organizations as well. So I do a lot of training on site at different companies and organizations. There are big, large concert halls and things like that where they send their employees out at 3 a.m. to all of those parking garages by themselves with no security guards, and they have no way to defend themselves. They can't bring any type of options on site because they go through the security as well.
Right.
So they can't have any type of defensive option. So what does that leave them with? Not a lot. And so a lot of it is an awareness and intuition and creating strategies so that they can actually get away and be able to, save themselves and avoid being a victim.
So when you talk about whether it's that circumstance or college, is it, and you talk about this training, so you go onto the campus to do this training, is it like several weeks of training, like how does the program, how do those programs work? I'm curious.
Sure, it's more 2 or 3 times throughout the year to make sure that everybody gets touched by it. And it's only 3 to 4 hours. It's not a lot, but it's really helping people get the idea that this could be a possibility, that it could happen to you. And so changing that mindset a lot of the time will bring that awareness to the forefront so that they end up not having an issue, because a lot of it can be prevented if they're aware. Right. And so thinking about strategies on how to make them aware, and other things that, and realistic tools that they can have in their hand. Pepper spray is one of my favorite tools because it can be in your hand with your thumb on the trigger. So even if someone attacked you from behind, you'd still be able to spray them by yourself 45 minutes and get out of there.
Right.
And so there's a lot of tools like that, those less than lethal options that are really easy for them to have on their person, in their hand, so that it's not an issue.
Right, and it's not so much like walking around paranoid as to what might happen. That's no way to live.
Right.
But it's all about the idea that something could happen. So as a result, if you're walking from the library at 2 a.m., like we probably all have done from, coming out of a university library, probably not such a bad idea when tumbleweeds are blowing through the campus and it's just you and tumbleweeds and some strange person that you might not know.
I like the awareness aspect. I've had a number of businesses. I have 4 daughters. The idea that, to me, in so many ways, a dark parking lot is just to walk to the car. As a man, I'm not aware of the things that women are aware or should be aware of at all times. I once watched my daughter send a drink back that had been sent from another table, but the guy brought it himself.
Oh yeah.
And she said she got, she sent it back because she didn't want it from the guy. If the bartender had brought it, she would. Right. So these are things like that would never occur to me as a man, but I guess are things that must be put out there for women.
Yeah.
That's the difference between Stu and I, is I'm looking everywhere to see who's going to jump out of the bushes. I once heard this guy say, I'm not afraid of the dark, I'm afraid of what lurks in the dark. Kind of thing.
So one of the things that struck me also is, and again, we talked about this before the show, so I'm not stepping out of bounds. How does a woman find her way into this arena to become an expert? Like how did this happen for you?
Sure. Well, I'm from Minnesota originally, where you shoot in your backyard. and so I learned to shoot then. And I did a lot of marketing consulting throughout the years, and I was consulting for a firearms training academy and started to get deeper into it. And then I started to shoot, and I started to have women coming to me saying they had an incident, they had an assault, they have a stalker, they had a domestic violence incident and wanted to be trained. And so I decided I needed to get all my credentials and start to do it. And so I got into the industry and have continued to evolve it based on the need. And so I also have some initiatives within the domestic violence realm. And I was actually in one of those situations as well and had a problem getting out. And through that experience, I have developed a new solution, which is a website and an app to help people get out of their situation. It's something that's like nothing that is on the market currently, and my plan is to launch it nationally, partnering with some really large organizations. And so through those experiences, they have really molded me into wanting to create a mission, not only for creating awareness and safety, but to really help people from being a victim of any type of crime. And that includes when we go to the firearms aspects of it. I always say I'm a firearms instructor, but I'm going to train you not to use your gun, because there are so many different options that you can use up until that point because you don't want to use it ultimately. And so if we can create those strategies and also be responsible gun owners and handlers so that everything is locked and safe, so that we have less access for future mass shootings and different incidents that come through that. I train people to be firearms instructors, so I'm training them to train in that way so that we can be contributing to the greater good, so that we don't have those incidents that are the aftermath situation. We're all about prevention. There are so many strategies that are out there, but a lot of them are common sense, but people don't think about them.
But it's good. And again, if you don't think that you're ever going to be a victim, why would you bother with any kind of this training? So it's a huge first step for people, and probably the biggest. I mean, that first step is so big that I'm sure it's monumental in preventing problems. That's great. So let's remember, you can visit GirlOnFire.life, and it's info@GirlOnFire.com.